something isn't right here. You know, I've been walking down this canal for the last 30 minutes or so, and for some bizarre reason which I can't quite explain, I still haven't drowned. Which you have to understand is strange, because I've been pretty convinced for the last 20 odd years that I've been living under a curse. I think that maybe I might have met, when I was little, some sort of jealous sea witch mermaid lady who saw I was having fun one day and decided, on a whim, that she didn't want me to be happy. I'm cursed. That's the only reasonable thing I imagined it could be. This whole... But now, just now, I think I might have had the best hour of my life. And there's nothing that any curse can do to take that away from me. And it was all because of her. She was literally standing right there, and I was here, and it's made me feel really bloody strange, because I can see that the grass is green and that water's brown and everything is as it seems, and it's just so real, normal, beautiful, and you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Well, I don't know how to explain. Look, when I was 7 years old, I fell in love with my Auntie Pat. She wasn't really my auntie, just a friend of the family. And yes, there was a considerable age gap between us. And no, it wasn't like I was going to tell her how I actually felt, but I really, truly loved her. She was the first person that made me feel that way, because I really don't know why. There were certain things she'd do that I just became obsessed with. Like, I don't know, she used to obnoxiously smile at complete strangers when it looked like they were having a bad day. And she smelled great. She had her own scent, like a mix of body odour and strawberry shampoo, and it used to really drive me wild. I'd always catch that intoxicating whiff whenever she'd come to greet me, or whenever she walked past, or whenever I used to sit in the hallway on a Sunday afternoon sniffing the sleeves of her coat. But obviously it was never meant to be. So this one time we went on a holiday with Pat and her other real life family on a joint getaway to Turkey, and one day we went to a water park. This super massive, ginormous water park with different pools and slides and those little water gun thingies. And I was so buzzed to be there, because I got to spend the entire day swimming about and splashing in the water and playing games with the love of my life, Pat. My favourite 45-year-old crusty little aunt was wearing this bright neon pink and yellow spandex swimsuit, which he'd bought back in the 80s. It didn't really fit her anymore, but Pat didn't care. She would mince along the side of the swimming pool like a fit model in Milan. She was beautiful. Anyway, it was nearing the end of the day, and Pat asked who wanted to go on the last slide. The big slide. The one where children had to have their very own adult over the age of 16 to accompany them down the slide on a big rubber dinghy. Naturally, I was the first to volunteer. So after a little 45-minute wait, Pat and I were sitting together in this dingy rubber dinghy, waiting for the spotty little pool attendant to push us down the chute. Although, what I hadn't told anyone before was the fact that 7-year-old me didn't like heights. 7-year-old me was downright terrified of heights. And as wonderful as my fake aunt and future wife was, there was nothing she could say or do to make me feel safe to be at the top of that slide. I looked into the abyss. The abyss stared back. And I had to get off. So I quickly scooted myself to the edge of my seat, trying to reach safety by grabbing onto the nearest railing, which was just out of reach. But at exactly the same time, the pool attendant gave the dinghy a massive shove, which knocked me clear off my seat. I fell in front of the dinghy, which nudged me further and further down the slide, causing me to roll faster and faster into the void like a little baby bowling ball hurtling into hell. Pat leant forward, trying to grab me. But this in turn caused her to have the dinghy fly from underneath her. And she too started rolling faster and faster down the slide. I screamed. Auntie Pat screamed. The pool attendant screamed. And we were plunged into darkness. Moments later, I flew face first into the pool, giving me only a second to twist myself around to stare up into the slide. But all I could see was this neon blur. This pink and yellow beast which rushed towards me as my aunt's spandex arse came hurtling at me, shoving me to the bottom of the pool. Auntie Pat was sitting on my face, choking me, drowning me. And I can't remember much more after that. Just the image of that neon pink and yellow bottom coming at me, growing bigger and bigger, faded suddenly to black. I didn't stop loving Auntie Pat after the incident, but we also couldn't look at each other. Didn't dare to. They had to prise her off me with a giant pool net, like flipping a pancake. So do you understand what I'm talking about? The curse. Does it make sense now? No, of course it doesn't make sense. How can anyone make sense of that? I'm sweating. I've still got my shopping and I just want to get home. This has ruined my life. If I walked over the bridge back there, I could get from my house to Sainsbury's in no time. But normally I have to walk from my house into town, and then I have to go over that large concrete bridge where you can't even see the canal, and then through the other housing estate, the posh ones, and it takes me at least an hour each way. But can you imagine if she somehow broken it from this weird chance encounter? When I was 12, I fell in love again. This time with Nancy Pettigrew. We were the only girls in our scribe group, and that was ideal because I could spend as much time with her as I wanted. I'd already started planning our future wedding that we'd have when Nancy eventually learnt of my love and subsequently accepted me for the woman I would change myself to become to make her happy no matter what. And once more, I didn't care. It was true love. So, this one time we were at a survival camping weekend with our scout pals, and Nancy and I had been asked to go to the massive lake to pick up some sticks for a campfire. In all honesty, I was getting a bit annoyed because whilst Nancy and I had been alone, and whilst we'd been walking for a solid 10 minutes, she hadn't said one word to me. Not one. I didn't know how to make a move. I was 12. And no one had ever really explained to me how I was meant to win her over. I had to flirt with Nancy. And I did the flirtiest thing I could in that situation. I threw a stick at her, picked one up, looking dead cute, and sort of chucked it at Nancy. Hitting her squarely on the tip. She giggled, I laughed. She threw a stick back, I threw a stick back. Oh, she giggled a bit more. I was in hysterics, crying with love, laughter, and the idea of a happy ever after. I was getting so carried away with this little beautiful game of love that I hadn't noticed Nancy had completely misjudged the situation, picked up a rock and lobbed it at my head. She knocked me out, of course. Oh. The rock made firm contact with my temple, and the next thing I knew, I'd fallen directly into the water of the lake behind me. Oh, it was freezing, bringing me back to my senses and making me realise I had to get out as quickly as possible or I could drown. I would drown. Looking up through the murky water, trying to get my bearings, I didn't see the grey sky I'd been expecting. No, it was all blue, just like the sky had been in Turkey. It was like I was 7 years old again, and I was back at that water park. Through the water, I could see that the green trees were slowly turning this horrific neon pink and yellow. And at the same time, I could hear this stretching sound coming from underneath me. Looking down through the murky darkness, I could see this gigantic neon pink and yellow spandex covered arse emerging from the bottom of the lake, growing bigger and bigger as it approached me. Everything went black. I woke up with Nancy attempting to save my life by slapping me across the face again and again. She gave me a black eye. So does that make sense now? I am cursed. I'm not crazy. Every time there's the potential for me to find happiness, I almost always end up nearly drowning. I'm consistently stalked by my fake aunts' neon pink and yellow spandex arse cheeks. This one time, I was in the shower, preparing for a date. I slipped in the tub, shaving my thigh, and broke my nose. Blood filling up the bath, and the shower curtain in my hand is changing into this neon pink and yellow colour and stretching under its newfound spandex texture. This other time, I was out at a fancy restaurant with a new potential girlfriend, and I choke on a glass of sparkling water. As I'm choking, each table in the room starts turning different shades of neon pink and yellow and floating up into the sky like some sort of massive spandex bubble. You must see it. Every time I have the chance for a little bit of love, those stupid fat arse cheeks are there to bring me down. It's following me. This curse is going to kill me, and I've never known what to do. I haven't been to the seaside in years. I have to clean my entire body from hair to toe in wet wipes. I can't even drink water out of a clear bottle in case the very sight of it gives me a panic attack. I've just never been allowed to be happy. Except, about an hour ago, I arrived at Sainsbury's. I'd walked miles, of course, took me an hour, but the simplest thing happened. There was a girl about my age. She's smiling, friendly, holding multiple packets of different cakes and sweets. She dropped a packet of mini Battenbergs. I rushed over, picked them up, placed them carefully on top of her pile. She thanked me. Said she should have used a basket. I smiled. She smiled back. I couldn't help but notice her jacket. Vintage from the 80s. Neon pink and yellow. We talked. We shopped. I asked her if she was busy. She said something about a party, her niece. She said she was late. I said it was fine. Because it was. Because we kept walking. Across town, through the other housing estates, over the bridge, along the canal, and she had to go. She said she'd been walking the wrong way for the last 20 minutes or so, and she actually had to go now. She told me her name. I said my own. We exchanged numbers. And she's gone. That's that. Look, I know it might not mean anything, and I know we only just met, and all we really did was talk, but look at me. I'm here, and I still haven't drowned. And it makes me wonder about this curse. About whether or not there is a curse. Or if I just... Well, let's see what happens next.